Welcome back to Donnie Did, a very special teaching edition. We have both been through the ringer when it comes to teaching overseas in China.
It's true.
And most foreigners you meet in China probably taught at least at some point, or at least a little private tutoring on the side.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like the waitressing job of China, right? You're not got a lot of money, you need to make some ends meet, you go do a waitressing job. It's kind of like that for here.
Yeah, or it's like the waitressing job of like in Hollywood, everyone who wants to be a famous actor is like constantly waitressing to pay the bills.
Yeah.
That's kind of like you'll meet people in China all the time and like they won't tell you right off the bat they're teaching. They tell you like some startup they want to get off the ground, or they have grandiose plans of something they want to do in China at some point. But before that happens, they teach to make ends meet.
Yep.
And I've taught pretty much every tier you can. I started as a kindergarten teacher. I taught middle school. After that, I've taught university. And then I've done a lot of like private tutoring with people aged 4 to 45. My first gig was teaching kindergarten.
Oh, sim it down. You guys ready to learn some English? Oh, Happy New Year to you too, sister. Hi. I'm wicked high.
Kindergarten is like, I think it's even younger in China than it is back in the States. They start them like at 2 years old or 3. I don't know. But yeah, I've had kids that like don't even know how to talk yet. And they're like, okay, teach them English. I'm like, what do you do? They don't know how to physically speak. But they can make sounds. And I remember this one kid, I could hold up a truck and he was great. He was the cutest kid I've ever seen. He'd be like, tra, tra. And at least, he was sounding a T. So I think he was learning. A lot of people ask me, they're like, how can you teach in China if you don't speak any Chinese? Yeah. And I'm like, you don't have to. They want you to only speak English. So that's how Chinese kids learn these days, is because from the age of 2, they have one class where there's just nothing but English. My friend was teaching this class, a kindergarten, where the kids were about like 2 or 3, and then they had to do final exams for the 3-year-olds.
Wow.
And I was like, what's this final exam? And he goes, well, you say like red, and then they need to circle the red object. There's a bunch of objects. Or they say apple, and they need to circle the apple. But like they don't have the motor skills to even like use a marker. But the school was saying, no, everybody needs to do a final exam. So my friend was like, I just sat there for a day just taking kids' hands and just circling things with their hands and being like, yeah. I mean, it'd be kind of like a dick move. He was just like, okay, you're going to pass, and just circles. He's like, I can't have the whole class pass. So you're going to circle the banana when they ask for apple.
I got a story. I got one of my first jobs here was teaching adults. I selected adults because I figured, right, I can speak to them in English, so I can at least have a conversation with these people, try and teach them. So I was doing that, and it was exciting and it was fun. But then I got offered this side job doing kindergarten teaching. They called it small learning or something, young learning. So I went there. I go in. They take me into this room with a sea of sleeping infant babies, like babies.
Were they in like cribs?
Yeah, little cribs, just this little sea of little cribs. And they're basically like, so if you just go, it's nap time now, so you have a nap with them, and when you wake up, then you start to wake them up, and then it'll be diaper change time, and then we can maybe talk about, well, whatever you think in English. And I was like, yeah, okay, I just really need to go to the bathroom real quick. So I just went to the bathroom, scanned around, where's the front door, out the front door, into a taxi, and left, and never went back again. It just terrified me. The idea of like, I'm in charge of all these little infants and no one else is here. And no, I was out of there, gone.
No, that is terrifying.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Man. Yeah, that's not even a school, really. That's like a nursery, I guess.
It's all this money.
Like an orphanage.
It's this money-making thing of like, oh, put your babies in this environment and they'll be better. It's nonsense. The kids are not taking in Chinese yet. They're not taking in English.
So my first gig was with young kids, not as young as those, but maybe 4 or 5. It was a pretty cushy job.
And here's the Gronkowski spike. Spikus. Gronkowski. Gronkowski. Yankees suck.
Yankees suck.
Yankees suck.
Yankees suck.
Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter.
Sucks.
Sucks.
you kind of have to be a clown though, because the goal is just to get the kids' attention, make them laugh. So you come in, you do little songs.
Under my umbrella, Ella, Ella, I love that part. Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. You're not messing with my Dougie.
It was an easy job. It's not a fulfilling job. I didn't feel like, was really using most of my brain, but it paid the bills. But the problem with the kindergarten that I was teaching at is that it was way too far outside of the city. I wanted something closer to downtown so I could have some sort of a social life. Yeah. So I asked the agency I was working for, and they agreed to switch me to a middle school. Little did I know, I went to that middle school. It was gigantic. They gave me about 8 classes a day, each class 50 minutes, each class 45 kids. So that's me teaching over 700 kids. I went from just teaching 2 preschool classes a day where I would literally just dance in front of the kids. That's all I had to do, to teaching over 700 middle schoolers.
Jeez.
And this was when I was probably partying the hardest in China. So I wasn't getting much sleep on the weekends, and I would roll in there Monday morning, just eyes red, still exhausted from the weekend, and just have to crush it. Something that helped with that job is they gave me a microphone attached by a wire to a speaker on my belt, so it amplified my voice. Something I learned very quickly is that if I put the speaker near the amplifier, it made that really loud feedback noise. And so I was way too tired after every weekend to actually be guys, be quiet. Guys, please be quiet. Can you please listen to me? Can you be quiet? So I just started just putting that down near the box and just be and they would shut up real fast. And I felt bad, but sometimes I would have to do it for a minute before, they would because there's some kids that, they'd still be talking, and then after a while everyone would just be head down, fingers in their ears.
Were the parents present for your classes?
No.
We always had a window full of parents all staring into the classroom as you're teaching. Oh my God. And they would come in and out of the classroom just randomly. They just come in and be oh, I'm just going to quickly wipe his nose a little bit there. Oh, I'm just going to do that. Oh, come with me. It was absolutely bananas, man. And then they would just do nothing but give horrible or just any kind of feedback about you after the lesson right in front of you to the teacher in front of you. It was very, very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, with the one child policy, they only have one chance to get it right. So
yeah, and it's
take
the
education
mother
very seriously.
It's the mother, the father, and the grandmother all standing at the window for this one child, and then there's 10 children in the class. So you can imagine all these people just standing. Ugh.
Because it's not only they want their kids to get into a good college. In order to get into a good college, you have to get into a good high school, and they have exams for all that. So you fall behind at a young age, you're screwed. Back to the farm you go. A funny thing they asked me to do at that school, they also asked me to give them final exams a week before the end of the school year. So I had to give and the final exam involved a personal. I meet with them and we do a mock dialogue where they have a conversation with me. So I had to have a conversation and give a personal assessment to 700 kids in about 2 or 3 days. So I would just show up to class. You got 45 kids, classes 50 minutes long. So I had a minute with each kid. I would just line them up like a factory and just have them come through and be okay, just ask a bunch of random questions.
Faster.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Cool. And what'd you think about this? And
sorry, Mickey. Time's up.
Okay, it's up. And then I just had to guess, give them a score randomly between 1 and 100, based off a 1-minute conversation with all my kids.
Wait, you were in a middle school, so your grades actually mattered.
I think so.
Oh
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. So they were just. That was a wild week. Just 1-minute assessments.
Whole bunch of kids can't get a job in China right now because of Donnie's assessment.
I was pretty lenient. I gave them solid scores. But that was my last time teaching full time. After that, I just would do these side gigs. Now, one of those side gigs ended up with me being a college professor.
All right, guys. Professor Mahoney in the house. How was everybody's weekend? How about you? No. The turtleneck. Next weekend, try to have some fun. Catch a flick, go on a date, maybe get a hand job.
It was this teaching agent out here who usually just set me up with private kids to tutor, and then he hits me up one day, hey, do you want to teach at a university?
Just assume that you can teach at a professional, like, professor level. Like,
Yeah.
Just take the job. Amazing.
I don't. He just like these teaching agents just lie to the school,
Yeah.
and then they lie to you, and somehow they make a lot of money doing it. But he was just like, it's only 2 days a week, and about 3 hours each morning, every Tuesday, Thursday. So I show up at the college, and I figure there's going to be a teacher there who just like shows me the ropes, kind of like sits in on my classes for the first week, and so I know the curriculum. I show up, she just hands me this book, shows me my class, and goes, okay, first class goes till 10:30, the second class goes till noon, and then walks away. And I'm like, what do you want me to teach him? They're like, well, it's an oral English class. You have like a book that like has some lesson plans in it. Okay, bye. I don't think I saw her again until the end of the semester. Literally, I didn't see anyone, which is why I filmed the video, because there's no one like watching like how I teach. So I just talked to my friend. I was like, I'm pretty sure you can just show up with a camera and film the entire class. So that was like the second class I taught, and I just made it like as absurd as possible. We were talking about weird slang terms.
My friend is wicked smart. Whatever floats your boat. That's the balls. You say, oh, How I Met Your Mother is the balls. Whatever, kid. Whatever, kid. Keeps on talking. You're like, oh, okay. Whatever, kid. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, my God, look at that guy. He's bombed. That means he's drunk. Road soda. Slam pig. You only have to choose one of these, because these all mean the same thing.
Let's go to a K-girl, let's go high.
That was good.
I was teaching them that Eli Manning was the only female in the NFL.
Eli Manning? She is very famous because she's the only female in the NFL. She goes out there and she plays with all men.
Suck it, Eli.
I actually taught them about Barstool Sports. You can see that I bring it up. Like, this is like a popular blog in the U.S.
A good resource is always barstoolsports.com. This is a 5-year-old blowing up a condom.
We got a funny video out of it. But then, like, when I showed up the next class, I kind of just more or less went back to normal, back to being like a normal teacher. So they're probably like, what the hell got into that guy like last week? I've got some very funny stories about the final exams I did in that class. Those were more in depth. Each one had to do like a 5-minute PowerPoint presentation. I can't remember what a lot of people did. I know one person did gun control, all sorts of stuff. I gave them like a list of topics they could choose from. One guy did gay marriage. He was my only North Korean student. I actually had one student that had moved from North Korea, or I don't think you can move from North Korea. I think ran away from North Korea and made it to China. He did gay marriage, and I'll never forget this. His first slide was a slide of Barack Obama wearing one of those Mao Zedong hats, and the caption was, "Obama loves fags." And I don't think he was like a homophobe or something like that. I think he just like, this kid was clueless. He was not the smartest kid. I think he just thought that was like the right term or something like that, and was just like trying to say that Obama supports gay marriage, but just didn't have the vocab.
Yeah, that happens a lot here, eh?
That's on me. I'm his teacher. I should have taught him the right vocab.
He shouldn't be teaching fags.
But then the presentation got a lot weirder. He put on like a 3-minute softcore gay porn. And it started off as just these two guys on a college campus. I was like, all right, this is cool. He's playing it. I couldn't tell what it was. Like 2 minutes in, they go into the locker room and they get in one of the shower stalls and just start making out. And I don't know. I was just kind of shell shocked. And then after like a minute of them just making, I was like, whoa. I don't know how this like helps your like point that you're trying to make. And like, I don't think.
I think his point was, I'm gay and I don't know how to deal with it. That's what it sounds like. Not the worst thing that I've ever seen, though. I was working in a school in Yangzhou, and some guy got fired for dating a student. So it was his last day, And they have like structured classes, then they have what they call like a social class where it's just every level and you just teach about a subject and not really focus on the English, more of the environment thing. And this guy done a class on the female orgasm for his last class. And it's glass walls in this classroom, and it's all of the teachers that work in the school and the management all staring into this classroom. They can't disrupt it. And he's just talking about the clitoris. He's got pictures of vaginas on the fucking board.
And he was being fired for sleeping with one of his students.
Yeah, so
How old were his students?
Oh, I mean, this is like adults being taught English, so this is a grown woman who's there, and she's... Yeah, I kind of got the impression she was there for that. She was always like, "Do you want to come out for dinner after this? You want to go for drinks?" Like, yeah, no, I'm good, let's go. But apparently he did. So he done this whole class, and they literally, like, just as soon as they came out, they just grabbed him and took him out the building. All these Chinese staff, young girls and young guys, just pulling him out the building, put him outside. Someone brought his bag outside.
That's actually like solid that he was teaching them about that, because I don't think growing up they ever do like a sex ed class.
No,
in Chinese schools.
Definitely not. He was doing it for the wrong reasons, but you are right. It's worth teaching.
Yeah, because there was a story that I'm not making this up, that a Chinese couple were having sex for like a year and she couldn't get pregnant, and then they found out that he was just doing her in the butt.
Yeah, he knew.
Yeah.
He knew.
He may have known. But yeah, there's like a lot of people, like even with condoms, like I feel like a lot of Chinese people, like they don't even see the need for condoms.
Yeah.
Because it'd be like, well, I do get pregnant, abortions are really cheap here or something like that. Like,
so true.
Yeah. Back to that North Korean kid. That wasn't the only kind of weird run-in I had with him. One time in the middle of class, teaching them about like sports vocabulary or whatever, how to sit in a job interview. And he raises his hand and asks me, or at least I thought he asked me, "Have you ever had sex with your parents?" And like, I'm like, what? So I get up close. I'm like, "Excuse me? Did you just ask me if I've had sex with my parents?" And it wasn't that bad. Still a little weird. He was saying, "Have you ever had a sexual experience?" Yeah, common mistake. Still not an appropriate question to be asking me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he was just a very curious kid who probably wasn't getting a lot of help at home. And I think he just saw me like, oh, he's the foreign teacher, and he sees foreigners as more open. So he's like, hey, well, this is probably a question I can, like, he would never say it to his Chinese teacher, but he's like, I can ask the foreign guy if
they're more
sex.
open. Yeah, somebody told me that once.
Yeah.
Foreigners are very open.
After the university gig, for the next 2 years, I think I only just did private one-on-one tutoring. Let me just emphasize how easy it is to get a job teaching English out here. There are some more legit schools, and it's gotten stricter over the past 5 years. Now they do background checks, although I don't think they're working that well, because some guy on America's Most Wanted was recently found teaching out here.
Truths.
The only reason he got caught is because one of his former students was just randomly checking America's Most Wanted list.
As you do.
Yeah, solid pastime. And she was like, "Wait, that guy used to teach me back when I lived in China." And he had like, I don't even want to go into the story, but he had apparently like sexually molested his kid, and then was being charged for that, and then went home and like murdered his wife, and then fled the country. Really dark shit.
Did he use the Wonton Don relocation services?
Gambling debt got you in the red? Does your bookie want you dead? Don't fret, because at Wonton Relocation Specialists, we have the solution for you. And that is to go even deeper into the red. And by that, I mean move to China. At Wonton Relocation Specialists, we specialize in relocating Americans to China who need a permanent vacation from their problems.
No, he was the first person I had to turn down. Small crimes, yeah, we can move you out here, but yeah, violent crimes or sexual related crimes, nope, you can't use our services.
Generally the most wanted list.
Yeah,
not really cool.
But you can get gigs pretty easily out here. I mean, well, if you're white, because a lot of Chinese schools are pretty racist.
I'm sorry. You're just not qualified to teach at this school. I can see you're qualified. Can you start tomorrow?
Fuck yeah.
Not just pretty racist.
Yeah, like an example, say if you're a Russian white guy who can't really speak much English, or you're an African American with like a degree in teaching, the Russian has a higher chance of getting hired.
I'm English teacher, Mr. Dennis Jones. I'm a friendly, likable man, and you will feel safe to ask many questions. Don't believe in stupid questions, only crashing will stupid people.
Yeah, that's why they call them white-face jobs, right?
Yeah.
That's the nickname for them. I worked in a company where I was purely a teacher. Never been asked to do anything like this in my entire time in this company. I was called in a little room, and like the management staff and a few teachers are in there, panicky feel about the room, and they're like, so this man applied for a job here, but on his resume when he sent there was no picture, and his name looked like he was white, which is a hilarious comment. His name looked like he was white, but when he came, we realized now he's black. We don't want to waste his time. Do you think you could give him a good reason for us not being able to accept him here? I was like, what? I said, what do you mean, like not the truth? And they're like, no, you can't tell him because that would be racist. The whole situation's racist, right? So I was just like, nah, I tell you what, okay, I'll do what you want me to do, but I didn't. I just went to the guy and said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't usually do this, but they've asked me to inform you can't get a job here, and it is because you're black. And he's like, dude, no big deal. This happens all the time. Just look, thank you so much for being honest with me instead of some bullshit excuse for some magical reason why I couldn't get the job. Thanks very much, and it was all fine. But awkward to be put in that situation. And this guy was from like Washington D.C. or something like that. He's just an American guy. Like, just
he's got to be smart.
I mean, his English was good, all right?
The same thing happens with Chinese Americans though too, because they want an American who looks like their idea of what an American should look like.
Yeah.
So even Chinese Americans like won't get jobs a lot of the times.
Our buddy Nick, he was in a situation like that, and they were just like shoulders up, just like, yeah, but it's just the parents might think that you're Chinese and we're trying to cheat them. And he's like, but I'm not. Like, I have a passport and everything. I speak English, and they're like, yeah, but you know, this is how you impersonate.
You're right. No, I could see Chinese parents being like, you said like he would have a foreign teacher. They're like, this kid's foreign. This is his first time in China.
You can't pull the wool over my eyes.
Yeah,
he's Chinese if I've ever seen one.
They get that all the time out here. Even like a Chinese person will ask them for directions, and they'll be like, sorry, I can't speak Chinese, and the person will get so mad at them. It's like, I know you can speak Chinese. Look at you. Stop being a dick and just tell me where to go.
Yeah, I got a Filipino friend that gets it all the time as well. People just start talking to him, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't really understand. They're just like, you must be retarded or something, because why are you not speaking the language? Crazy.
But for white people, I mean, it helps if you're handsome. You don't have to be handsome. I've seen a lot of very ugly teachers out here. But it can be ridiculously easy to get a job. And to exemplify that, I was rocking the video camera shades I have, and I went in for a job interview. It was a school where you used to teach. You were the one who got me the job interview. And I went in wearing a green suit and just like intentionally tried to bomb the interview. Like the resume I handed in said like I worked at a petting zoo and then was the COO of Dairy Queen. I don't know who else who can like make that career jump. But she looked at it and was like, all right, we got to get this guy in for an interview.
If you saw on there, I used to be the COO of Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen. You know, they sell blizzards?
Chinese is like DQ, right?
DQ, yeah, exactly. And so, you know, when I had that job, I was getting paid like a lot, and I definitely gained a lot of, you know, analytical skills, number skills. And so I just feel like, you know, if someone, you know, who was kind of like a corporate bigwig before, maybe I could be receiving a slightly higher salary.
I'm trying to think about some of like the weirdest shit.
Didn't you pull out a beer?
I think we can both agree that this interview has gone well. I have a gift, you know. I think this calls for maybe a little toast, something like that. I got 3 beers and a Fanta. Here you go.
No, thanks.
I think this calls for like a little toast.
My dairy is not.
Oh, but these things are only like 2% alcohol. It's fine.
You're welcome.
Can I have one?
Yes, you can drink that. But I think because our dairy is outside.
Oh, so if I want to drink it, I should drink it here, but not outside?
I think outside is better.
You think I should, drink outside of the school. Okay. Drinking beers in the bushes. I've been doing that since I was 12.
She called me back so many times after that job interview, be like, when can you start? When can you start? We want you to start as soon as possible.
Oh my God, it's so funny. It's just so.
I was
exactly
like,
how it is.
I was a weirdo on that job interview. We'll have a few of the clips pop up.
I want to be an English teacher.
Thing is that I just love kids. I've been great with kids ever since I was the manager of the petting zoo at the Marshfield Fair. Because that's kind of like you're a teacher, but you also have to manage like geese, ducks, goats at the same time. Have you heard about Miss Frizzle and the Magic School Bus?
In Shanghai?
No, it's a non-fiction book series back in the States. It's called Miss Frizzle and the Magic School Bus. And it's about this crazy ginger lady, but she's a very good teacher. And she takes the kids to all these magical places in her magic school bus. I think she maybe was giving them Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, but I'm not going to jump to conclusions.
But in the Chinese Parents' Day, I think they were not.
They don't want kids getting on a magic school bus and like shrinking down to insect size and learning about bugs and stuff. Yeah. Okay.
I thought I might even get in trouble for that vid, because that's when I think like the Chinese government wouldn't want people seeing, because they're like, oh, this makes our country look bad. But I don't think my videos are really on the radar, or else I would have been kicked out a long time ago. Another crazy thing that happened to me is I went in for this job interview, and prior to the interview, I had to send in my resume and a photo of myself. So I show up, they tell me about the structure of the school, how many classes I'd be teaching, what the pay would be, and then they hand me a pamphlet for their school, and my photo is on the front page.
Classic.
They use my photo in the marketing already. Like, I was like, you guys have to be shitting me. Like, all right, you're gonna need to pay me a lot more now.
That's fantastic, man.
All right, so tutoring horror stories. I think I only have one that's particularly bad. It's probably one of the highest paying jobs I've ever had. Someone offered me like 500 RMB an hour to tutor their kid who was like 4 years old. That sounds like a dream job. To be making that much, not that far after graduating, that's solid money. I mean, like $80 an hour. There's no other job that's going to be paying that much. Turns out this kid was a spoiled demon seed. We show up to their house. It's like this mansion in this giant complex outside of Shanghai. It's on a golf course. I thought it was going to be a sweet gig, but dude, this kid was he had like servants. He had a team of like 4 servants who waited on him, and I would see him just like beat his servants. Just like they would come over, he would just be hitting them all the time, and he needed to get what he wanted. He didn't even have like, I saw his dad maybe once. I think his dad like made all the security cameras in China, so he was pretty damn rich. There's a lot of security cameras here. So he had this like one male caretaker. So I would do most of my interaction with him, but our classes would consist of just trying to teach him something and then be like, no, draw a plane. So I would just be like, all right, I mean, I'm getting paid a lot, but not enough to just put up with this kid's bullshit. If I don't do what he wants, he would just start screaming at the top of his lungs. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to sit here, get paid, and draw planes. And after drawing about like 10 planes, he was like, now draw a gun. And that's what it eventually like turned into. He would just want me to draw photos of guns.
Oh dear.
So this kid's got some issues. Ooh. One time I like insisted, I was like, all right, I need to teach you something. I feel bad, like your parents are paying me this much. And he just got up, went to a corner of the room and just peed on the floor. That was his way of rebelling. And so like after maybe 4 classes, I was like, you know what, this isn't worth the money. I got to find a way out of this.
That is absolutely nuts. So just to fuck you, I'm going to pee on the floor.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. I blame the parents.
Christmas came up, and I was like, oh, I have to take like a week off for the holidays. And then I was planning on just never coming back. He actually had the nerve to ask me. He was like, hey, my son, like, he doesn't know. He's never celebrated Christmas. He doesn't know anything about it. Would you be able to just like, show my son what Christmas is all about on Christmas? Like he wanted me to spend Christmas with his son. So nope. I just like, and after I just I never went back. I never tutored him anymore. It's not all bad though. My like last year and a half of tutoring, it was great. I had about 3 students that I would meet up with maybe once or twice a week for 2 hours, and they were all in the age range of like 35 to 40, and all I had to do was just have a conversation with them for 2 hours. That's all they wanted. They wanted a chance to practice their English. So these were like 35-year-old women mainly. And I almost became, for one of the women, I kind of became her therapist. Like after a few classes, she started telling me about like her husband and her problems at home. And
What's
she's
that
like,
thing of, because you're a foreigner as well, you're so outside her world, she can kind of like open up a little bit more. Yeah,
but she'd be like, he always goes to the massage parlor after work, and I know he's getting jacked off. And then he comes home, and then he'll just play video games for hours.
Jacked off, right? Okay, that's
yeah.
good English.
Well, she probably said da feiji, so she didn't even use the term.
Let's try say
jacked off.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, at that point, I would just kind of let her talk and get paid for it. One time, I was asked to teach a class. It was just one day, but it was about 5 hours, and it was a bunch of kids from China who would be moving to the U.S. or Australia that month, and they just wanted to learn about American culture and Australian culture. I agreed to do it. It was on a Sunday. I was like, yeah, I should be free then. I wasn't working much, so I actually really needed the money at the time. Then 3 weeks pass. It's the following Sunday. I realize it's Super Bowl Sunday. Oh, let me correct what I just said. It was on a Monday, which was Super Bowl Sunday back in the U.S. with the time difference. So I had already agreed to teach. I think it started around maybe noon or 12:30, I think. Now, the Super Bowl usually ends around like 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m. in the U.S., which is 11 a.m., 11:30 a.m. Monday morning in China. I wasn't going to miss the Super Bowl. That was just like that was not an option. So I was like, you know what? I agreed to this. It's okay. I can do both. I'm not going to let this class ruin my Super Bowl, and I'm not going to let the Super Bowl ruin the class. So I just like treated it like most Super Bowl Mondays, where you show up at a bar at 7, start pounding beers, and watch some solid football. But immediately afterwards, I just kind of had to turn off my mind and be like, okay, all right, we got to switch modes here. I think I drank a Red Bull, popped an Adderall, chewed a pack of gum, didn't have time for a shower, and then just got a taxi straight to class. The class ended up being fun, though, because you're teaching them about American culture. So for the first 20 minutes, I just played football highlights. I think I played
from that day.
I think I played highlights from the Super Bowl or highlights from past Super Bowls. I played movie trailers. I was like, these are the movies that are very popular back in the U.S. And then I taught them drinking games. I think these kids were like 14. We didn't play with booze.
The right range.
But yeah, no, I taught them root and I taught them ping pong. No, I taught them.
No, you didn't.
So I definitely didn't teach them ping pong. I taught them how to play Beirut, and I taught them flip cup. It's fun when it's literally just U.S. culture. It's like, how can you teach them things that will help them adjust to when they go to school in the U.S.? So like, what are all the kids going to be talking about? What social media is all the rave, because it's all blocked here. So to wrap this whole thing up, I will preface, like, obviously me and Matt didn't take the teaching game very seriously, but there are a lot of solid teachers out here who do take it very seriously and like take pride in actually mentoring these kids. Then again, you will find the occasional teacher on America's Most Wanted or like trying to run away from some drug dealing charges. But yeah, overall, I would say, yeah, most of the teachers here aren't bad people, and
no way.
It's a solid job. You know, if you can get a job at one of the more legit schools, you can make good money, which like goes a long ways out here. Travel Asia on the weekends or on the holidays. But yeah, I mean, if you don't like want teaching to be your career, then it's probably something like I wouldn't stay in long term. Because I mean, even though there like are a lot of legit schools and legit teachers out here, I feel like teaching in China doesn't have the best reputation back home and stuff. Like
I also hear there's not much of a ladder to climb as a foreigner, as a professional teacher and foreigner in China. You can't really get too high up that ladder, so you find a lot of really good teachers here feel that they're kind of been ceilinged a little bit. They can't go any higher.
But there are a lot of like foreign schools like foreign run schools out here too.
Yeah, there's
which I think,
international
like,
schools. Yeah,
the
totally
ceilings-
different rule for international schools. Yeah,
where the ceiling's a lot higher. But it's just, I mean, you go back to the U.S. and if you just have teaching in China on your resume for 3-4 years, it's going to be tough to find a lot of gigs. But I mean, overall, yeah, I liked it. If it wasn't for like the private tutoring I did, I wouldn't have been able to like make a lot of the videos I did, because it was a way to like make enough money to pay the bills, but then also have enough free time to like pursue something creative that you want to do, which I think is great, because in the U.S. there's no like part-time job that I could do that I'd be making enough money to have like, you know, a bunch of free time to go and like work on something that I'm not making a cent from.
Yeah.
I tried that a bit in the U.S. at one point. I was bartending while running my blazer company, and it's just I felt like I just wasn't having enough time to focus on the blazer company because I had to work so many hours just to be able to make enough money. All right, well, on that note, we will wrap up the episode. Thanks for listening. Remember to slide into my DMs with any topics or questions you want addressed on the podcast. Not much is off limits, I think, right?
Yeah. Talk about whatever.
All right. I'll let you say goodbye. How do you say goodbye in Scottish?
See you after. See you after.